Reptile Fight Club. My name's Justin Julander, if you've forgotten. And with me is Rob Stone. How's it going? I think we're kind of in for a bit of a proof of life. We didn't get a guest lined up for this week. Rob's been traveling and partying with Metallica and all sorts of stuff. So, and I've been a bit busy as well. So we've been a little lax on scheduling a show and getting guests, but that will be coming up forthrightly.
Ideas for years, right? So
yeah,
never fear.
Exactly. We've got stories for years. Yeah. So I thought we kind of discussed what we could talk about. And obviously we've done a little bit of traveling and had some adventures here recently. So we'll chat about that a bit and maybe give some updates on what's going on with our collections and such. But just wanted to check in and record a bit of a show and see what was going on here. So, I guess first off, you got any breeding activity or eggs or anything like that going on with you?
Yeah. It looks like 3 rhino clutches this year,
nice.
Which is good, or 3 on the ground that are good. Did get eggs of some variety, good and bad, from all the ones that I had put together and things, but some of those were real small males that I'd tossed in a little bit late in the season and things like that. But it was good. Yeah. Always good to get that. If something comes out, then it's, especially in those, maybe more so than pythons, you can get sort of tweeners where they'll have sexually dimorphic visual characteristics. But I've seen it where I think genuinely there's a misalignment between them. In terms of their sort of presentation and what they are, what they'll probe as, and maybe even what they are physiologically. Right. And I think part of that might go to the fact that in terms of incubation, and I know this puts them in a weird spot, although to me, in my lived experience, the Porphyratia, the bamboo rat snakes, are in a similar place. We don't generally consider them to be a group of any of their close relatives, to be animals that would be subject to that would be temperature sex dependent based upon their incubation temperature. Mm-hmm. So I recognize that this is sort of an out there idea, but my lived experience is that they are, or at least that it can override potentially they certainly have sex chromosomes, but my question is whether those can be overridden. I've talked with Ben about this going back, 7-8 years ago. It's an interesting idea. Certainly there's anecdotal evidence that goes to it. We haven't necessarily aligned to have the perfect sample to test the idea and validate it. But, so it is. Anyway, in that context, it's always good. Even slugs are good when they validate, okay, everything that I thought was a female actually was a female, which speaks to the validity of the sort of secondary sexual characteristics and the dimorphism between them. So I think 3 clutches with eggs that look good. So that's exciting. Cool. Yeah. I think probably I finally had become convinced of it enough, talked about it enough that Jamaican boas are straightforward as long as you kept the room parameters as such and such. And I think, both Cheilobathris, so the Jamaican boas and the Puerto Rican boas, had sort of been in a biannual cycle. It looks to me, particularly based on the feeding response of the Jamaican boa that I thought might go this year, that finally the streak will end at 7 or 8 years or something across the 2 species breeding every other year. So I don't think I'll produce any this year, which is good and bad. I mean, again, it's something that I give away, to friends. Sure. And stuff. Those are pretty in demand. I know folks, Dustin certainly would like some more females and things, but right. I think then it just sets us to be, it'll be doubles in the same year, and then I'm bringing more online and stuff like that. So, that's sort of the update from here at this point.
Yeah. I'm still in hatching phase right now. I've got pretty much, I think I only have 3 clutches left and or 2. One is hatching out now. So I've got striped spotteds, from Ryan Young. I got a pair of striped spotteds from him, and they're hatching out now. So they're looking good. I actually got all 4 recognized species of Antaresia Although whether they're recognized by some people or not, I'll be cold in the ground before I recognize Stimsoni as children eye.
Missouri children eye.
I don't know. I just can't let that go. I can't get over it. They had that new publication that I'm pretty sure it looked at pygmy banded pythons, compared them with spotted pythons, and showed they called them children eye, and they're just all over the place. I mean, if they think those are children eye, I feel bad for them. They just have no resemblance to that. And it seemed like the genetic sampling was like they were way out there. There was some dots in that area that were way different. I'm pretty sure it's the pygmy bandeds, because they don't overlap with children eye like the Eastern Stimsons, which I would recognize probably would be the most likely to be lumped in with children eye. I don't know. I've been thinking about a little more with this new paper, how I would actually split them up, but it seems like there's that biogeographical barrier in kind of the border between Northern Territory and Western Australia there.
Okay.
And you see a lot of splits there. You see splits with the frilled lizards. They're the ones to the west and the east are a little different than the ones in Queensland, are even different from those two. So there's kind of three groupings of those. There seems to be, differences between a few different taxa across that on either side of that line. So that makes sense. I don't know that I've seen a ton of the Kimberley children eye in the true, I guess, Western Kimberley. But so it'd be interesting to see if they look at all like the Western Stimson's pythons, from the Pilbara and stuff. But I don't know. It's just weird. I was watching a video, Ricky Mack video today, and he was somewhere looking for the Western Desert taipan, and found some some Stimson's pythons that were amazingly clean, like just beautiful, patterned and colored. It was really nice looking Stimson's pythons out there in the middle of the desert. It was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
It'd be nice to know, where those were, to see kind of how things shake out. But I do think that the central Stimsons around Alice Springs in that area, and the Western Stimsons probably would constitute true, Stimson orientalis and Stimsoni, but that's just my uneducated opinion. Just going by what, the breaks in the genetics that they showed and kind of where those ranges are. There is some overlap, and I mean, species overlap sometimes. That doesn't mean they're not species. You got overlap between Stimsons and pygmies, and they're fine with that. So, I don't know. I guess it's one of those fun academic things, but when you look at them, you can tell what's what. I think maybe that gradation from the north to the south is what they're getting hung up on, but I don't know. What do you do? I'm going to call them Stimsoni. I would encourage people to keep that straight.
Exactly right.
Right. Just at least it's a locality difference potentially, I hatched out some Western stems. I just took those out to the reptile room from the incubator. I only got 3 this year because I only paired up 1 pair, which I probably should have done a few more pairs, but I've still got some from last year. I'm not the best salesman, so but they're beautiful, such cool snakes. And this is like a 3rd generation pairing, so they're looking pretty cool. This was kind of a stripy line that I paired. And then the Broom Stimsons, Broom Western stems are just incredible looking. They keep getting better and better, and really reduced patterns. And I threw in a pinky last night and they all ate. I think one
That's
didn't
fantastic.
eat, just right off the bat. They're big, like they're a lot bigger than the wheat belts, which is kind of interesting. Yeah. And then jungles, I got jungles, hatched out 2 clutches of jungles. I got 3 from one and then 6 from the other. So not the hugest clutches, but they were both first time females. And, all those babies ate like right off the bat. I threw in a fuzzy last night and they all grabbed it right away. So, that's exciting when they do that. And then I've got the inlands out there. Some inlands hatched out. I got a whole pile of inlands. Looks a little bit skewed towards males, but maybe like 2 extra males for, probably like 8.6 or something like that. So yeah, it's nice. Not a bad, maybe even more. It was a pretty good size clutch. So, and this is actually a Maug paired to an AAR line.
Cool.
Female. So Maug male. So it's kind of mixing the 2 lines a little bit. So I'm curious to see how they turn out and check those out for a bit. So hopefully they'll start eating and I can start seeing some color and pattern. They take a little bit. I mean, just like any carpet, but sure. I kept a couple inlands from the previous pairing. I think it was 2 years ago. Oh my goodness. They are stellar looking. They're just so blue. At least the pair, I have a 2.1 left and the 1.1 looks just phenomenal. And then the extra male is like, yeah, he's nice. But when you compare him to the other 2, it's like, it's like, wow. So I'll probably hang on to those just because they're here and they look really nice. Why let them go at this point, So, yeah. Guess you got to roll the dice early if you want to get some really nice inlands. But yeah, or
just get some when you produce them from that pair. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Guess that's the trick is everybody wants the holdbacks, right? So yeah, I got some children that I hatched out from a holdback. Well, no, this was from my original or one of my older females. Not the original female. She's unfortunately passed. I think she was 23, 24, somewhere on there. So yeah. And, so
it was getting her babies when we first met back 22 years ago, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And she hadn't bred for probably 5 or 6 years. So she was kind of not doing much and, just kind of being old, I guess.
Yeah. Living her life. Yeah.
Yeah. But her offspring they're all really nice. And I think there's a lot of confusion in herpetoculture with the, red desert line that the Barkers put out there.
What you're gonna say.
They look very similar as babies. They're lighter than the mainstream or the triple L, whatever children eye you see there. And I know Ryan had some really dark patterned children eye that were cool looking. And I actually got a pair from him as well, or a female or something, but I got some from him and produced from that female. And, but the kind of the Barker line that I've kept, since the late 90s is pretty light babies, like really faded pinky looking things. And they look an awful lot like what people would expect a T plus albino to look like, but they're not T plus albinos. Yeah. So I don't know. I didn't think I was too excited about the T plus albinos, but I saw some at Peter Birch's and they were pretty cool looking, like back in the day, so it's been a while since I've seen them, but I know a few people have been producing them, but I think there's a few people that are producing the Barker line. They go, oh, there's T pluses in here. Right? And they're trying to get money for those. So I guess,
I sort of remember some of those interactions and things.
Right. Yeah.
I think Nick very famously had a rant about that.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Well, he's vested in that, I guess. Yep. So I can imagine. Yeah, that would be a little frustrating to spend all that money. But, yeah. So yeah, things are going as good as they can be. I did get that one black-headed python to hatch out. So unfortunately, the rest didn't make it. I still don't know where I'm going wrong with these things, but. Jordan mentioned something about elevation, but I don't know. Maybe elevation plays a role in it. But, I guess I'll change some things up and see if that fixes it. But it's frustrating. They look good until the very end, and then I get one to hatch out of the 6 eggs or whatever.
Yeah,
just like come on, just. And when I start doing feeding trials, it's like, okay, maybe I'm glad there's not 6 because they make you pull your hair out. They're really frustrating. And then the pygmy pythons, I've started feeding trials with them, and there's no going for mouse pinkies. So got to figure something out with those. Start assist feeding or tails or legs or something.
Right.
Yeah. The drumsticks work really well. They're just a little bit of a pain to prep, Yeah. So, but I should have plenty of drumsticks around. Yeah, so that's where I am right now. I've still got I've got a couple female Eastern stems that are really nice. I've got some from another Stimson line that are pretty cool. And then a few of the Western stems left.
Very cool.
Yeah,
so if people want some. Yeah,
they know where to go. It's pretty interesting. There's quite a few people producing Westerns, so that's a good sight. Yeah. I guess producing as many as I have over the years, they're established now. That was kind of the goal, is to get them into herpetoculture. So that's exciting. So I haven't been worried so much about producing numbers of those anymore, but they're the nicest stems. I just want to refine them now, get nicer and nicer ones. So there's some pretty insane looking ones over in Australia. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Especially WA. Yeah, some of those are wild.
Yeah. I mean, just some of the wild types are pretty fantastic. Yeah.
For sure.
I've seen a total of one in the wild, so I can't speak too much to it. But yeah, some of the photos I've seen, pretty impressive.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, want to talk a little bit about our trip?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
How about you kick it off from your perspective? So this was our non-Carpet Fest trip to go check out Pennsylvania and then New Jersey on the back end. But you got a little New Jersey. You got to see some of it. And again, a second time. But and then you had to head back, and that was okay. Save one find, maybe two, depending on how you feel about Three Frogs. But yeah.
There were a couple of finds I was a bit jealous of, but I mean, Rob was the mastermind, of course, behind this trip and did the planning and arrangements and everything. And I didn't have a lot of time off of work since I took a couple Australia trips in the last year, and so I'm kind of flush out of annual leave. So I had to do more of a long weekend. So we flew in. Friday night.
Arriving early Saturday.
Yeah, we did a red eye, which maybe wasn't the best choice, but what do you do? It's a herp trip, so you're going to be tired anyway. But yeah, those what airline was it? Southwest or Frontier? Yeah, I mean, it was fine. It wasn't very expensive, but the seats aren't very comfortable, and I didn't sleep very well, that's for sure. And it was a little. I was in a middle seat, so that wasn't great either. But
didn't help.
So luckily we had a long drive to Western Pennsylvania, but we started out. Yeah, we did a quick jaunt into the the Pine Barrens, to go have a look around before Nipper got there. So we were kind of waiting for him. And so our first stop was a really good one. I think the first find was a lifer for me. I was very excited about. Yeah, it was really cool. An eastern box turtle. And I've been in the range quite a few times. There's not just for easterns, but for, the western or desert box turtles and are they the ones in Texas and Arizona? I mean, we've been in their range quite a few times and been in the areas where they're found. Yeah.
I said
you guys saw some in Texas.
I was thinking you were talking about the and I've seen the easterns too. I expected something else eastern at that site. I'm too Ophidian focused. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So, box turtles have eluded me up to this point, and Eric found a really nice box turtle as he was I think taking a pee or something, wasn't he?
Yeah, probably.
As those finds go, but so yeah, I was really excited. It had a little bit of shell damage. You could see some of the bone through, some of the scutes had been chewed off by some critter or another, but otherwise it was in good shape and it was just beautiful. Looked to be probably a female, but gorgeous animal. So I was really stoked to see that. And then driving between there and another site, we found a little baby one that was really tiny. Really yeah, it was so great. It was crossing the road, so we got to get it off the road and help it across there was
A truck coming, big truck.
Yeah, it would have been smushed pretty quick, I think, by the trucks that came behind us. So yeah, glad to get that one off the road. And then walked around the Pine Barrens a bit more, and Owen found a nice chain king. So that was another lifer, really cool snake. It was in shed, cool. But it looked good regardless. And then picked up Nipper, and we paid a nice little visit to Johnny Rax and saw his amazing collection of some pretty amazing shinglebacks and other blue tongue skinks. He just had some alpine blue tongues born there. Beautiful species. That's one I'd like to work with down the road for sure.
They're beautiful.
Yeah, I just couldn't believe that collection. I was, and Johnny's such a nice guy. Like, he's just really fun to chat with, and has a lot of great ideas, and just is knocking it out of the park, like just producing that Taliqua genus like nobody's business. So it was really great to see how his setup were and how he's got things going, and just really great time. So good stuff. And then we headed west. We made a stop off to have a look around, and saw a couple of garter snakes, and then Nipper flipped that juvenile.
Yeah, little, probably young of last year.
Yeah. Very
little Eastern milk snake. Yeah,
it was really a nice one. We'd seen a couple milks the previous time in Pennsylvania, a couple years ago, and but this was just like perfect, beautiful,
and in
colored.
Jersey too, right? So we saw them in the Poconos. We saw one in Jersey. But as that form, right, as it gets larger, they tend to get duller in overall appearance. But as babies, that one was probably 6 to 8 months old, something like that. And that thing was stunning.
Vibrant. Yeah, very nice. So that was a good find for Nipper, and good sight for the rest of us. And then we went looking for the Eastern Massasauga, which is endangered in Pennsylvania. So kind of a difficult find to some extent, unless you're Rob and you know where to go, and definitely put us on the right spot. But as I don't know if listeners heard Eric and Owen talking about the trip a little bit, but Owen may have gotten a couple of the details wrong, but it was, I walked over and was hanging out with the class a little bit. So I think they were walking, Nipper and Owen and maybe Eric were walking with them for a bit on the front end. But I had totally just bolted from, I was trying to do other things. So. But by the time the class got to me, they dropped off or weren't with them. So it was just me, and I was chatting with the professor of the class, and she was really nice. We had a nice little conversation. She was, she worked at a university out there and had this class of like field biology or something. So they're out looking that day for Massasaugas. And so they had the ranger with them, and really nice guy. Like, you never know. Exactly right. So if we go slightly back, we'd gotten there the day before, but late in the day, and not the sort of time, particularly that time of year, that we would anticipate to see one. It seems like generally a lot of the records are concentrated in sort of earlier in the year and then later in the year. It's sort of an unusual time to be looking for them. It seems like mostly kind of they're basking to get those first sheds, and then you're seeing them sort of in the fall. Those are the general time frames. But so this was a June, mid-afternoon to early evening in a June day, and it didn't feel promising, but it was really good to check out the habitat, see, okay, are there particular spots we could imagine one coming out to bask, that sort of thing. Right. And then it was, let's go early in the morning. So we did, and we're out there, and it's just us, for the first hour and a half, something like that. There's a spot that's closed up. There's sort of several spots that are inaccessible for different reasons and whatever. And so the ranger had come through, and I actually recognized him. I was like, I think I've seen this guy when I was looking at, there's video content from this spot around Massasaugas, them doing sort of the same deal that we ultimately, experienced, or you experienced. I think he's in those videos. I'd send it to you, and he'd say, hey. So we'd all waved, and we were all dispersed, right? It was, I was by myself, and you were by yourself, and Nipper was, however it's situated. We were out there with Robert and Connor, and
Yeah, it was really good, but it was like pairs of two at the most, and then a lot of us sort of singly. And then, so I had waved to him and things, but Nipper, of course, because, you know, that's how he always engages, chatted him up, told him sort of, hey, you know, this is our interest, was super transparent, which is great. And as you say, you know, got a really positive reaction out of that, which is great. You know, again, I would think that given sort of where we're coming from, that should always be the reaction, but it's not. You know, some people are just inherently defensive and things. And,
or just don't have much information, like the ranger we saw in Canyonlands that had never seen a concolor.
Had never seen a rattlesnake. Well, that same night we cruised 3 within 15 miles of that office they worked for 10 years. So
exactly,
I don't know what to tell you.
They're just not paying attention. But Ranger Taylor, Will Taylor, was very astute, and he's putting in the work for sure, and very involved in the Massasauga research out there. So glad Nipper chatted him up, and glad he was so cool, you know. Absolutely.
So he wound up giving us sort of carte blanche, save one spot. So the interesting thing about that spot is it's basically it's either the last or one of the last publicly accessible spots of prairie habitat in Pennsylvania, in the entire state. So talking about it being endangered in that state, they are very closely tied to that habitat type. And basically all of that I think it was probably, just given the sort of context of Pennsylvania generally, there might not have been as much of it in Pennsylvania as in Ohio and Ontario, and, you know, to start with, but certainly it's amenable to development, right? Sort of, you know, from flat in historical times to now. So there's, I think, either one or at most a small handful of publicly accessible spots that are prairie habitat left in Pennsylvania. And certainly this is where their population is concentrated. There are definitely a handful of spots, but they've been in notable decline throughout the 1900s to now, and even dramatic declines from sort of the 80s forward, in terms of county extirpations and things. You know, there's definitely papers that are, we had mentioned it with Zach, actually, you know, in the context of there were interesting papers that talked about sites sort of on a county level that gave some level of specificity. So with a sort of trained eye, you could have ideas, but we're not sort of willy-nilly giving out GPS coordinates and those sorts of things. So it was kind of a nice mix between those two. So I'm not saying they're only at this spot in Pennsylvania, but in terms of publicly accessible, it's certainly where they're most concentrated. People can certainly Google it. You can figure it out, find it, and all that. And I encourage you to, but to treat it with respect. And that was sort of what we had done. And Ranger Taylor, right, based on hearing our motivation, said, hey, you know, we have this, you know, this part is closed because we can't mow it, and we don't want folks just sort of randomly walking on it because we don't want them stepping on a Massasauga. But you guys, I understand and appreciate your purpose and your, you know, the values that you're bringing to this. So feel free to go down this way. We're trying to expand the prairie habitat up to this northern part. You guys can go do whatever you want, you know, carte blanche up there. So yeah, couldn't have gone better, as you said.
Yeah. And I, it was interesting because he said, oh, you're welcome to join with us, you know, walk with the class. And so I was for a bit, and he was really, like, I was thinking, he's just going to be doing kind of the base level, but he was giving some really cool details about, you know, the fact that Massasaugas wait for a certain temperature shift. So between the ground temperature and the air temperature, once, you know, you see a shift to a certain degree, you know, temperature the ground reaches, they'll start to come out and bask and move around. So he said, once you get to a certain time, you have like a couple days, and then you can't burn anymore, because that's how they're managing the prairie in certain areas. So they'll burn a plot, and kind of a controlled burn to clear out the brush and the trees and things like that to maintain the prairie habitat. Because I guess if you don't do that, if it doesn't have an annual, or not an annual, but a regular burn, then it will become overgrown. And so that was kind of cool that they're using those. That's where Zach comes in, that they're using those crayfish burrows to overwinter and stuff, and then come out and when the shift occurs. And And so he said, so, I'm kind of listening in on his lecture to the class, and he said, they don't really move when you approach them. So they just kind of hang out there, and then they just kind of bask on, in the grasses and stuff. So and he said, okay, everybody line up and stand about 6 feet apart, and we're going to start going through the brush. I'm like, oh, this might be a good time to be around, And so they start walking through, and I'm like, man, is it going to count if they find it? And, we just see it or whatever, working out those details in our head. And yeah, right off the bat, a couple of the kids, one kid in particular, he found like 2 or 3 snakes, I think. And he's like, oh, there's a snake. And he's like, well, describe it. Oh, it's got a stripe. Okay, that's a garter snake, and I think they just took off, and we'd seen a couple Eastern garter snakes on our walk through there. And then somebody saw maybe a decays or some kind of, more plain snake, but it definitely, and it took off as well. I don't think they got hands on any of the other snakes they saw. And then, I think when that decays, the person saw the decays, I started kind of walking through, the undergrowth to go see if I could see the snake. And then it got out. And so well, I'm here, I might as well do what they're doing. So I start tromping through, you just had to walk really slow and make sure you're not stepping on Massasauga. That's kind of the technique. And yeah, without that class there, we definitely wouldn't be tromping through the grasslands like that. He
right.
Although he did kind of gave
us permission to do that.
In certain areas.
You guys can check it out in certain areas and stuff. There's one area. So the whole area itself was, I think I distracted myself from it. The whole area is protected because of the presence of a particular flower that's endemic to that prairie habitat. And that's why that area has been protected for the last 70 years, something like that.
So for the flower.
It's for this flower. And so the spot that he said, oh, don't go in there and be tramping about, is the spot where that flower persists.
Gotcha.
So that was kind of the one exclusion they did put on it. But that's not the principal sort of snaky spot. It certainly wasn't where the class was going and all that. So, but yeah, I certainly took it as, hey, we have permission to do this explicit activity in this context. And
in this area.
Turned it out.
Yeah. And so, I was walking along and I'm like, oh, there's one. And it was quite a good sized female, but I didn't see it until I was maybe, 6 feet away from it, or maybe even closer. Like it blended in pretty nicely, and it was kind of still had its winter coat on, I guess you would say. It hadn't shed out yet. So it was fairly dull looking, but
they get some mud or tans or whatever it is on them. Yeah,
kind of soaked into that skin, and so usually they'll come out and shed and look a little nicer. But so it hadn't gotten to that point yet.
Plenty great to me.
But yeah, it was very nice to see that target, and so I'm like, oh, here's one, and so he came over. Ranger Taylor came over and had some snake tongs and picked it up. I mean, after I spotted it and kind of was getting closer, I got a couple pictures with my phone, and then it started to move off. And so he came in and kind of clamped it and put it in a bucket a bag, a snake bag. And then we took it over to the pavilion and weighed it and, measured it and all that kind of stuff. It was pretty cool. And then he tubed it, and he asked if somebody wanted to pit tag it. And of course, the college students wanted to, and he's like, how do we have anybody that has experience with injections? And I'm like, I do. And he's like, okay, maybe it would be better to have somebody with more experience. Why don't we have our friend come over and do this? I'm like, yes. And I'm sure they were all like, no, you jerk, stealing our thunder. So, but yeah, it was fun to get to pit tag it. I've got the pit tag number written down and everything. So kind of cool. And measured it. Yeah, it was fairly good size. Like, I think they only get about 2 foot, maybe just over 2 foot. He said it wasn't the largest one they've recorded, but it was 24.4 inches long, about 62 centimeters, and 285 grams. It was very thick around the back third, so it was probably developing some follicles or something, because, it looked pretty obviously thick, and thought it had 22 subcatals, so maybe looked female-ish.
It definitely looked like a female to me.
Yeah. I think so. So unless it was just a male hadn't voided its bowels from last season or something, but yeah, I thought female as well. So, and then put a little wound glue over where I injected the pit tag, and that was that. And I think so. He started scanning for the pit tag I just injected, and he wasn't finding it. And he's like, "Oh man, maybe it already had a pit tag, and it was, this thing was messed up. We should have checked the pit tag number before we injected it or something, scanned it, So, but, so maybe it had one already and the scanner wasn't working, but either way, it was kind of cool to get to do that and work that intimately and closely within, a species that's endangered in Pennsylvania. So kind of a fun thing. And then, then we released it back where we found it. And at this point, the class had gone off to lunch. So it was just us. And Ranger Taylor, again, was nice enough to let us have a little photo shoot. And he just kind of stood back and let us take all the time we needed to take pictures and wasn't rushing us or like telling us our interaction with the animal was completed. And so it was really a nice,
absolutely.
Very nice interaction. A true Western Pennsylvania treat. So good times.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I thought it was fantastic. He had kind of put the caveat on it on the front end of saying, so it was in the bag. He was going to dump it out of the bag or, gently, let it out of the bag. And then he was sort of like, it sounded like he gave the impression that if it had then just bolted, that was it. It was what it was.
Right.
So that's where Owen poked fun at me for just, going belly down right into the face of this bag. And I was like, well, what else am I going to do? Especially in this context, if I may only get one or two shots, I'm not going to
waste that opportunity. Right. By being, whatever, standing back and not going full for it. So I'd done that, but that wound up not being, she played along anyway. Right. And was content to sit there and, pose up nicely and kind of the same thing that you're describing, right? Or the perpetual, when you find something in the wild, you have a picture from 20 feet, a picture from 15 feet, from 10 feet, from 5 feet, and you're trying to get closer and closer, but taking shots along the way so that you don't miss the trick at the end. Yeah.
So, that was basically the deal. And certainly, got some stuff that I thought was really cool, really happy with, loved the context, so. Yeah, I thought it was great. Couldn't have asked for better.
Right. Yeah, it was great to add another or I guess not Crotalus, but Cistrus, another venomous to the list.
U.S. rattlesnake.
U.S.
venomous, U.S. rattlesnake. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
very cool. And Rob put us on the spot again, delivered again. So I think the one thing we neglected was the first day when we kind of went to scope things out. The day before we had this find, and Robert's son, what's his name again?
Connor.
Yeah, Connor found some critters out kind of by a little pond area, and
salamanders. And stuff. Yeah,
a couple dusky salamanders and a green frog and a few other things.
They're
so
aquatic,
cool.
Man. Robert's family are aquatic for sure.
They are. Yeah, it's always fun to go out with those guys and. It was great to see them again. But yeah, and then I turned up a wood frog kind of as we were hiking around a little bit for the really reddish colored one. It was really nice looking orangey red wood frog. And then we headed back east again, more to eastern Pennsylvania to Eric and Owen's timber spot. And sure enough, Owen and Eric turned up a couple of timbers.
Well, you turned up another one on the back end of it. And that male.
So, well, we were taking pictures of the first two, and they were kind of in the rocky areas where you'd expect them to be, and where they'd seen them before. I think they said it was the same rock that they'd seen some in previously. And then I walked a little bit further, and there was this beautiful black rat snake just stretched out across, just kind of hanging out there, like hoping I didn't see him, and doing one of those, like, did you see me? I'm going to hold still just in case, and was pretty well behaved. I mean, it took a couple swings at Eric, but other than that, it was, I have a great shot of it, like with its mouth wide open, and Eric's got his mouth open. Like, it was really, really fun shot.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. but yeah, it was fun to see. And Eric was pretty excited because he's, trying to find all the herps of Pennsylvania. So that was one that he hadn't seen in his state yet. So that was a fun find. And yeah, for the most part, it just sat there and let us take pictures, and then it crawled off nice and calm. So yeah, nice interaction for sure. And then, I walked a little further along a ridge and just spotted this another kind of darker timber out on the crawl, and it was it's amazing how they just blend in with that environment, and it was fun to watch it kind of crawl along, and I got to sit and watch it make its way over kind of over the ridge. Quite a
distance, right?
Yeah, from where I first spotted it, and while you
finally,
guys came over,
we sort of caught up, and I was able to make enough of an impediment that it finally sat and coiled up and stuff like that. So we
kind of went, under some branches or something, kind of a dead tree or something, just kind of, where we could have a good view of it and get nice pictures, but where it had a little bit more secure feeling, I imagine. Yeah. Luckily, it didn't try to go for the rock the crevices, because it would have been that whole very difficult to.
Very, rich in terms of escape routes. In terms of if they want to go, then they're going to go, and that's it. Yeah.
And the first two definitely took advantage of that and went right into the rock cracks. We got pretty good views of them, and they rattled a bit at us and stuff.
We gave them, black rat snake photographing time, and they were back out.
Back out and basking. Yeah. So we didn't interrupt them too much, and they looked pretty heavily gravid as well, or in the process
at least working towards it.
Yeah. So after that, we went and got a bite to eat, and you dropped me off at the airport. So that was the end of the trip for me.
We got some pizza or you got the pasta, right? But
the rattlesnake pasta.
The rattlesnake pasta.
I thought that was fitting for a 3 rattlesnake day and then a 4 rattlesnake trip to have a little bit of rattlesnake pasta. It wasn't rattlesnake in there, but that was the name of it. Had a little spice to it, I guess. That's why they called it that. Good stuff. And then you guys had some nice finds. Congrats on your the next one. I guess, was that the next day or?
Yeah, that was the next day.
Okay, you didn't go out to Delaware that night after you dropped me off?
Yeah, we did. I had forgotten. I was digestively unwell.
Oh, okay.
And so we're, sort of, it's actually not that bad of a hike, but sort of the park to where you can park to where we're trying to go.
It's a little bit of a haul.
It's a little bit of a haul. And then they were like doing renovation or construction or something. And I think that heavy equipment there probably has thrown off the population that's there. It didn't seem, again, heavy equipment snakes, not that they're killing them, but I think they're probably dissuading them from sort of the activity that we had seen them engaging in previously. And as I say, digestively unwell. Nipper had used up he spoke highly of the import and integrity of bringing a bog roll. Naturally, I had failed to listen. I had hoped that then that would mean that he had, he would be sufficiently stocked to cover me. I was nicking the headlamp on this trip, relative to the bog roll, and okay, well, at least Nipper will be able to help me out when I'm indisposed. And he was like, "No,
he couldn't. He couldn't spare a square.
He could not spare a square. I think he didn't have it to spare. So I don't know if that meant he had used it, be it for his camera himself, whatever. But there was none to go around, and so I had a lot of those tense moments where you have to stop. Sort of stop moving,
recover,
process through it, recover. Okay, I have some more distance in me.
Oh no, not good.
Down once you get to the flat bit, then there were some facilities, and so I was able to resolve the situation. Felt substantially improved. So that was all good. But I guess I had forgotten that element of it. So we had gone there and then went back to Eric's. That's the cool part of being out of that area. It's a
close
close drive and things. And
Close
so
enough,
then, yeah,
I guess. Yeah.
it's all relative, right? But the next day we met up with Mike Curtin, Jason Balin, and Mike and I have been talking heavily. So Mike has seen a pine snake before.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll have to have him on here at some point. You know, he's great fun all the time.
Yeah.
But as I understand it, it was it's a known animal at a particular place, and so he was only 1% less motivated to sort of ideate and go find a pine snake, a true, completely unvalid, unknown pine snake and things. So he and I were very excited for this, and we're talking about it and planning it and trying to come up with the ideal time from, last year when I was out there, in terms of saying like, okay, when's the time? When are we going to try and do this? Where are we going to go? I'm sending him spots. He's showing me spots. We're talking through it. There was a ton of ideation and effort, and I do sincerely want to recognize Mike's, so he lives out that way. He's much closer to the habitat and things, but he put in a ton of time between the fall, over winter, in the spring, checking out spots. I was sending him spots that I was like, hey, okay, go check this out. And he would go in 90 minutes, 2 hours each way. And he'd spend the day hiking around and saying, okay, learning about it, seeing, checking out these spots, validating the spots that from afar I'm saying, okay, seeing this stuff. And
I knew he was a nice guy, but I didn't know he was that nice of a guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's cool.
Fortunately, our interests align. So, it's
any excuse is a good excuse.
Any excuse, exactly right. So, he put in a ton of time and effort. And the spot that ultimately paid off was a spot that he had identified, just sort of, again, probably in the, I certainly don't take credit at all beyond saying my enthusiasm to do it. I think had him really looking and thinking and really invested in trying to figure it out. And where it ultimately paid off was purely the result of that work from him. We had gone to a spot that I had highlighted. He had gone to, found promising, found black racers, box turtles, hognose, that sort of stuff. So very cool animals. We spent the front half of our day. That was where Owen was, in his own narrative saying, he wasn't super feeling it. And it is. Maybe I need to start taking into account, like, as we're getting out of the car and I see what provisions, principally water, people are bringing and stuff, that I'm thinking, well, we're probably going to be mostly an hour's walk from the car, at least an hour to an hour and a half to 2 hours, but more in a meander sort of way, a walkabout way, not in a defined trail.
Straight
or whatever.
Hiking,
it's just, but either way, it's not particularly going to be close. And I anticipate, potentially we could be out here all day is sort of my idea. So your little 20-ounce Dasani is not going to carry you very far in June in Pine Barrens when it's, we actually sort of, once it had gotten to the maybe mid 80s, it was going to head back anyway, because it's like, well, we've got a siesta here before we're going to see anything anyway.
Right.
On the front end, before that happens, we're probably going to be out here for easily 4 or 5 hours. So bring the jug, be a jug brother. Don't go for the 20 ounce, but maybe that's a lesson for me. I need to start being more explicit around that. But
that's tricky too. When you feel a little bit more responsibility when you're kind of planning the trip. I mean, you expect everybody to use their heads to some extent, but you don't know if you've made it clear. Okay, this is a 4-hour day. Bring the jug. Don't bring the little bottle. It's tricky, but I sympathize with you there.
Mike and I had a laugh about it after, we were like, that was sort of the point that we had come to, was saying, maybe we needed to be a little more explicit. We need to work on that, character development and all. But, it's half the fun anyway. But, so I don't wear the things that can track such things, but someone had said that we hiked, in that Sandhills habitat, hiked 15 and a half miles that day, through that stuff. And obviously that was their sort of personal take. So for everyone else, it's give or take a little bit, but, not going to be dramatically different. I think that might have been Eric's, which was probably pretty close to mine. Cause at some point he and I did go back to get more water from the car for other people, saying like, okay, we need to, head back, get more supplies, come back out, do that stuff. And it was getting hot. So we didn't stay out terribly long after we had come back, but we did get in maybe double the fun on that.
Yeah. What did you see much?
Black racer, box turtles,
nice.
Toads. It's, it's interesting. It's that habitat, same way. It really reminds me of the Central Florida sandhill habitat, where it's, I think most of the activities happening underground. And it's just difficult they're there, but it's difficult to spot one, and in that context, unless you have a highly localized, maybe if you know a known denning site or a site where females are, what Bob Zappalordi was telling us, right? Where he's talking about, the females are coming to open patches and they're basking and then they're going into the hole, to deposit their eggs and things. Unless you have that super locale specific intelligence, I think otherwise you're just sort of, you're on walkabout, and it feels like every step you could run into a pine snake, a corn snake, a hognose. That very next step could be the one, and 999 out of 1,000 it isn't, but occasionally it pays off.
Right.
So yeah, as Eric said, actually, I've seen probably a dozen black racers, at least 15 between Pine Barrens, Florida. Aspen and I saw a lot of them in Florida. But in general, they're very difficult snakes to photograph. They're super responsive, super quick. Remind me of elapids in Australia, where how do you know if it's, with a notable exception on our combined last trip, I would say that, how do you know it's a python that you road cruise in Australia? Well, because it's still on the road when you stop the car and get out and go over to it. Whereas for the most part, the elapids start booking it right away. Right. That Weigel's brown snake didn't fit the bill as I'm standing over it, but processing. But yeah, black racers are kind of like that as well, where they're just so
keyed in,
ready to go. Keyed in,
like the coach whips and all that. That group, the Masticophis stuff.
But this one. It was, as Eric said, he had spotted it next to a railroad tie, kind of between two railroad ties, next to a box turtle. So they were within 18 inches of one another.
That's cool.
And he was showing it to me in that context. And I was able to grab it and bucket it, put it under the lid for some pictures and stuff. And so those are, I think that's the first, certainly, proper black rat. Black racer pictures that I have, but maybe first at all. Again, it took me a dozen of them to get get good photos of one. So
that's cool. So you got the racers and the box turtles and
racers, box turtles, toads. And then so we'd gone through the front half of the day. It was very hot, and gone back to the car. I think we went and had a Pine Barrens treat someplace, as I recall. I would say we were joking about it beforehand that in general, the front half of the trip felt very soft to me. We were in this very constrained area over in Western PA.
Yeah. And
we've been eating way too much food, eating 3 meals a day, kings, damn hell ass kings, and it was.
How many monkey butlers were there?
One at first. One.
That's cool. I was like, at the first part of the trip, I'm like, man, is this a Rob trip? Did Rob plan this?
Right?
I felt way too comfortable, and we didn't hike more than a couple miles.
Nearly enough.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Didn't lose a lot of weight. I'm like, man, I guess I needed to hang in for the rest of the trip.
The next day we put it to the test. So Jason and Mike only got that variant, so good on them. Not that either of them has it to lose, but so it is. And then that evening we had post feeding, we had gone exploring different spots. And kind of sandhill cruising in a way, but really kind of spot to spot where we were trying to get to particular locations rather than just sort of cruising about. Eric talked about it really well. I was just glad that he was the one effectuating the Pine Barrens pinstriping on his car, not me. That was my principal concern. But yeah, it was pretty brutal. It was pretty tight. So we go down this road. It's challenging, seemingly to nowhere, and then to no effect for sure. And we just have to turn around and come back through it. And sure enough, then so we were driving with Jason. So Jason and Mike were in the first car. I more or less agree with Owen's assessment, except I didn't ask, I think they have a snake. The part about jumping out while the car was still moving is correct. Yeah. We saw their car slam to a stop, and immediately before we had stopped, yes, I was jumping out of the car. And
as one should do,
As one should do.
You should be ready to jump and help.
We all ran up, and it was just no one had touched it and all. It was just a beautiful, probably 4 foot, northern pine snake stretched out across this probably 6 foot of sand road between sort of bramble stuff and all that. And it was.
So is that Pituophis number 6 or?
That's 6. Yeah.
6. Yeah. So you got one in
10 for U.S.
Florida, Arizona, Utah, California, Pennsylvania, and Colorado. Okay.
That's a good way of thinking about it, because all of those.
Utah, Colorado would be the same, right? Oh, I didn't say Texas.
We don't have Great Basins. We have.
Okay. Is that the same as Texas then? Colorado?
So Texas has bull snakes and Sonoran, same as Arizona.
Okay.
So it depends where they're at.
So you saw a bull snake in Colorado and a Great Basin in Utah and a Sonoran in Arizona and
in Texas.
Coastal in California. Yeah.
Yeah, the San Diego.
Yeah. I don't think we saw a Pituophis when I was in Texas on any of the trips I was on. Maybe you saw it with
first
Phil.
Trip with Owen?
Did we see it?
Yeah,
in Texas?
There was one. It was a baby that just had a big meal. Probably a first meal. It had a big bolus.
Well, we did see that.
Road.
And that was a Sonoran, though.
That's a Sonoran.
Okay.
Yeah. So you've seen them before.
So I haven't seen a bull. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I'm like, I don't remember seeing a bull yet. I know I've seen a couple Sonorans then.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. That was right after the disappearing snake. and before the boulder. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was crazy. Okay.
No, so really good.
Very cool. Well, congratulations. That's awesome. That's a good find.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I was, it sort of overstates it, right? And we were talking before the show of, you wind up having these things that prove to be more difficult either than you'd expect or just in actuality, and kind of the work that goes into seeing them. And pine snakes, certainly we've been going to that habitat for the last 5 years, as Eric mentioned. Mm-hmm. I think maybe there was 1 year we didn't go, but we've gone at least a day or a couple days each of those years. But again, not at ideal times. So that probably isn't so bad relative to, I'm sure, to other folks, putting in effort to that. But it felt like a lot. Yeah. And certainly to have it happen on a day that was a proper trip day where we put in the effort, had a misadventure, and then paid it off at the end in a way that only happened because of the misadventure, all the better.
Yeah, right. I guess it's all timing and luck to some extent, and the misadventures play a part of that. So it's all part of it.
Misadventure helps, sometimes it doesn't, right?
Yeah, exactly.
As was mentioned then, so the next day we'd gone to spots that you've been to with Matt Minatola and Johnny had come down for that. Yeah. Had a good day. They had started a little bit earlier than we did, and went from a different side. Yeah. So they wound up seeing a lot of eastern king snakes and things. Saw some box turtles. The route we took didn't have most of that stuff. Fortunately, it was all stuff that I've seen. Nipper didn't get an eastern king out of the deal, but it was still a great day in the field. We were running into ticks, and for sure, that absolutely was a thing. But no, great day in the field, and that evening after this is really cool. Over by Mike's place, there's a spot where folks go out to fish, but they're sort of, some of it is restoration, but they're also very prominent signage and things. A ton of diamondback terrapins come to nest. This
is when I was sad to not have seen. Yeah.
And those are beautiful. So they're just out kind of exploring areas to nest along the road or on the road. And so we'd gone out there and must have seen, a dozen or more, but, really was able to check out and sort of scoot off the road, probably a half dozen, including some really beautiful ones. So
that one that you were holding, I think Mike took the picture. Fantastic.
Super light, beautiful. Clean.
Yeah.
Very white head and all this stuff.
Yeah,
really
I was a little jealous of that one for sure, along with the pine snake. But I was happy you guys got to see those. That's cool. Have to check out that spot if I'm out there again. Yeah.
Right? Well, I'm sure that's the good news, right? Being a spot that we can easily get to and have buddies.
That time of year, it's probably predictable that more turtles will be nesting, or because you saw snapper as well. And
so they did.
Oh, okay.
In that same area with the Eastern Kings and stuff like that. But
that was the other guys.
That was sort of their troop or partition had gone to do that.
Okay.
But it was really good.
Nice.
And then that evening, as we were cruising sand roads, not different sand roads, but relatively the same general area, we saw the tracks of a very big snake on the sand road into that same point, right? And I know Eric and Owen had talked about this, but just sort of the expression of it. That's exactly the thing, right? Sometimes it's the adventure, sometimes the misadventure, sometimes it's failing to have those. It causes you to see it or not.
Yeah.
So.
And I think if you've herped long enough, you probably had a few of those experiences, where you just missed it or see the track, or sometimes you follow the track and you find the snake at the end of the track.
Yeah, we did check it out. We did try. It was a little bit of you wonder if levitation comes into play or what, because it's sort of like, how does the trail disappear here, relative to what we were doing? But we definitely gave the Jeff Lem School of Thought a try, but couldn't pay it off in that instance. And I don't know, was it from, that was a very lightly traveled road that could easily have been from 2 minutes or 2 hours beforehand. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, that's always the question is how old is this track? You try to see if there's, certain things over it, or
tracks over it, or is there additional accumulation in it, or whatever it might be. And in some ways, right, that's the blessing and curse of the sand roads compared to paved.
Right.
Is that the paved, you just don't know what you missed.
Yeah.
Whereas on the sand roads, it's
clear as day. Something big crawled across the road. Yeah.
Especially something that large, where it was just like, it was either an extremely large black racer or another pine. Yeah.
Couldn't have been a timber. Didn't have the right.
No, and in that habitat, that would be a little bit surprising. I know we saw one, our famous accident, one.
Exactly.
Sort of
wasn't far from habitat. There.
Yeah. I mean, ish. No,
possible,
but it certainly wasn't.
Right.
That's not what I would have guessed.
Right.
I would think it had sort of the dimensionality of a racer or a pine, but probably, again, at least 4 feet.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. Well, it's a great trip, very successful trip. You got 2 huge targets and a bunch of nice bycatch targets in parentheses. I hate that word.
The dreaded word. Yeah.
It's all good. Anytime you're finding a herp, it's a good day. And even if you've seen 1,000 of them, it's still exciting to find and good times. So,
And we saw Robert and his family. We went and hung out with them on Friday up in the Poconos.
Nice.
That was really good. The crack was not super populated this time, but that's okay. It was still
no lem crack this time. It was definitely a lem crack last time.
With snake, it's a lem crack for sure, but only one snake this time.
Because we saw at least 5 or 6 in that one main crack. Milks, the water snakes and ringnecks, and it was pretty well populated. Pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was exciting.
So
Except they were so far back, you couldn't really get great pictures or,
Right.
Yeah.
Certainly getting them out they were well ensconced, but, it was, good to be out there. I don't know if that's seasonality, if it's something with this year compared to other years. But yeah, still a great time. Oh, yeah. And Robert's son had, there were little painted turtles. We did see a ton of painted turtles actually on that Thursday, the day before, down in the Pine Barrens. And then,
nice.
Yeah, we were up in the Poconos and he fished out the cutest little painted turtle baby. That was just gorgeous. Maybe an inch and a quarter, something like that,
awesome.
Straight length, something like that. And just totally beautiful.
Right. Well, coming home early, I was a little like, I wasn't completely herped out. And so I went up the canyon and basically parked the car and walked about 15 feet. And there was a Great Basin rattlesnake just right on the side of the trail, just waiting for me to give me that high again, that adrenaline rush or whatever, the serotonin boost. So it was nice. It was a nice looking snake, and sat and took some pictures of it. Kind of, I don't know, it was like close to the road. So you never know what to do with that, because on the other side of the road is the river. So you don't want to put it over in the river, because, that's not a great option either. And then, I don't know, it's one of those, I guess I just like, well, we'll let fate take its
do what you're going to do.
Toll. Yeah. So, but yeah, it was nice to see that. And then, the next week after you guys got back, you came to town. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, we had a cool little jaunt, family trip that we drove up through Flaming Gorge, gave a go for some concolor, did see some Great Basin gophers. That was cool. And then had gone, come out to you guys. We had a great supper. And then the two of us had gone cruising and got my life for rubber boas, which was super cool.
Yeah, I was very happy that the road paid off. So that was awesome. And it's funny that it's not sort of necessarily the timing that we would think, but in the last you've mentioned it, in the last year or two, you've put a lot of time into sort of that space generally, your area generally, and you seemed relatively confident, even though I would say it was drier and warmer than people who have captive rubber boa exposure would expect. Oh yeah, sure, they'll be out cruising around and doing their thing. Right. And that first one was sort of a nice, what I would sort of prototype adult male. That second one was a very large male. I thought it was a female, from the car, it was like, man, just with the sheer size of that. But two big males, and certainly proved the value of persistence in terms of, that's the thing when you're cruising of like, does this make sense? We're doing kind of tight loops, and it's like, we've done a handful. Okay. Is this going to do anything? Oh, there's one, and we do a lot more, and oh, there's another one. We were just here, and this is only 50, 100 feet from the last one. Right. Yeah. Just interesting for sure. Yeah. It's pretty cool. And it seems like the ones that I've seen there, at least that I've road cruised, have all been in that maybe stretch of quarter mile. It's not a very long section, but it seems to be heavily traveled. There's a creek on one side and mountain on the other, but it's really thick grassy habitat on either side of the road. So if they're not on the road, you're probably not going to see them, especially. But I have seen some walking the trails, of course, crossing the trails and stuff. And I've missed a couple just by a couple minutes, walking and are you looking for snakes? We just saw a big gray one crossing the path back there. And I run back and couldn't turn it up, where'd you see it? They tell me the exact spot and I can't find it, just disappear. So
very elusive. Right.
Yeah. So. And they tend to go under, down, under. They're very difficult to see once they start getting under stuff. So unless they're on the trail, they're a difficult find, I think. I don't know. Absolutely. I guess some people have a knack for them or know where to look better than I do, but
or where to flip them or something. Right. I think that's probably how most people are seeing them. But the idea of cruising them was a bit of a shock to me. Save your experience, as you were talking about 2 years ago and last year, it's not how I would anticipate necessarily finding it. It makes sense, makes enough sense, but it's not what I would intuitively think. But,
and I was very happy. I did go out a couple nights later and didn't see anything. So, it,
we just got to let, fortune favored us. And that was all good. Yeah.
I took my daughter. We went on the same hike that we went on. Oh, sorry, I'm getting ahead of us a little bit. So the next day, we kind of showed you guys around the campus.
You gave us the unofficial campus tour.
Yeah, exactly. Got some Aggie ice cream. That was a good stop. And then headed up the canyon for a little bit of a hike and turned up a gopher snake pretty quick and just kind of crossing the path. And that was a nice little find.
Always fun.
And, gopher snakes.
But again, illustrates the difference between gophers and ponds, right? West of the Mississippi and east of the Mississippi.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I guess some people say the Sonorans are a little fun. And I've had my share of Great Basins that have been pugnacious, striking and hissing and stuff, but they're mostly bluff, but they can be a little intimidating with that big hiss and they jump off the road at you and stuff. But it's the rare there. I think that's more the exception than the rule that they're feisty but I think it's the opposite maybe with a lot of the other localities. I don't know. Bull snakes especially tend to be a little feisty, that way, hissing. And
certainly, 9 out of 10 are going to bluff strike. They're going to hiss. They're going to tail rattle. They put on quite a show, but I would say that all of maybe even more than 9 out of 10 will put on that show. 9 out of 10 of those, if you just pick them up anyway, don't do anything. And then it'd be like the Great Basin where, it's all sort of that bluff, and intimidation to do it. There definitely are outliers where I've been savagely bitten.
Sure. Right. And there are the outliers of the calm Great Basins that'll light you up too, But I'm trying to think, I may have been bit once by a Great Basin gopher, like of all the ones I've handled. Usually you can just walk like that one that we found. You just walk up, pick it up and hold it for a minute and then let it go. And it's just goes on its way, no big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah. And then on the upper path, saw a racer. It was kind of coiled and dipped pretty quick. Yeah. Just like out of there fast and gone,
I think I had already walked by it. It froze for me. And then as you were coming up to it, it had bolted.
And it didn't move until I made eye contact with it. It's like, oh, I'm spotted. And then it took off real fast, under some rocks. I didn't even see where it went. It was just out of there. Typical, Coluber Masticophus behavior. Those racers are named racers for a reason. And so, we didn't get a closer look at it, but, it was out and about and a few sagebrush lizards on the trail. And so
really
good times. It was great to have you out to my neck of the woods, and I'm glad we got to get you another lifer. And that was fun. Yeah. Always good reason to get out herping, and especially after a good Father's Day meal.
That was great. It was all great. So we had a great time.
Yeah.
We ran further south and back to where we'd gone, in terms of San Juan County and stuff like that. And I would say we put in a lot of effort, not what we had done on the first trip in terms of all the hiking and stuff. We did some hiking and things, went to some beautiful places, also went down to Flagstaff. And we, put in some miles and things, but for various reasons that made a lot of sense, we didn't see a whole lot of much. But that wasn't the purpose of the trip, so it was all right.
Yeah. Well, Matt Teachin had messaged me and said he was headed down to that area. So I gave him a few spots that we had taken a look at, including the den spot. And he went down, saw a couple rattlesnakes in the den site. So, and I thought it was a little early, like, you might check it and see. And he saw some good stuff. He saw some collared lizards and a few rattlesnakes. So it's a good. Very cool. He saw some cool stuff.
I remember that he had reached out to me as well, and I'd said, "Well, A, the person you need to talk to is Justin, but B, I'm happy to tell you what I know." And I remember thinking, it seems a little bit early, but I think it was the same deal where it was sort of going for other reasons and that sort of stuff. But now that you mention it, I do remember him turning stuff up, but it was kind of it was a little skeptical, and just goes to show the effort.
Right. And timing, it's hard to always say what the timing should be or is or whatever, Again, a lot of luck and just hard work goes into it too. Just putting in the miles, you're bound to see stuff.
Absolutely.
I think there is, a little bit of skill to it. I guess the times I think about skill is involved is when I see, Rye Jones posting more pictures or Thomas Wilder posting pictures of, the different milks and Mountain Kings in Utah. Like those guys know where to look and where to find them
arbitrarily.
Yeah. They're turning stuff up really readily and in good numbers. I think Rye just did a photo dump on Flickr and just put up a bunch of great shots. He's got like just milk after milk after milk. It's like, man, that guy is
that's amazing.
A great herper. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I do
still need to get out with him, go herping someday. Yeah.
I think it's exactly right. It is a mixture of, luck and not necessarily skill, but preparation.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And you can
put yourself in the right area,
trying to put yourself in the right place and not I don't think you can do the things that will make sure something turns up, but you can try and avoid negative outcomes that probably give you the optimism, spirit, and willingness to put in the time to do it, and those things you can do, you can make choices that positively feed those aspects. And then you just have to hope it works.
Exactly. And living in the area where your target is helps too. Thomas can look out the window and go, looks like a good day to go see a Mountain King. I'm going to go down the road and check one out, whereas I would have to drive at least 3.5 to 4 hours to get to a suitable Mountain King spot, not quite as freewheeling as Thomas is there, but it is nice to get out there when I can. Your
rubber bows, maybe that's the variant that you have,
Exactly.
Okay.
And there've been a few. I mean, last night I was thinking of that too. Like I saw some clouds rolling in, and it looked like there was a thunderstorm coming, and it started to get windy. And then all of a sudden it disappeared. So I was like, "Ooh, I'm going up the canyon tonight," And then never mind. It kind of petered out. And it may have been a good night. I was just busy with feeding reptiles and cleaning mice and stuff like that. So I kind of missed the window, Yeah. So what do you do? Had to go binge a show with Heidi. That's the other factor that sometimes you don't consider is happy wife, happy life. You want to keep your spouse happy and not just, hey, I'm disappearing again for a few hours to go look for snakes.
Hours, days.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I mentioned something like, man, I really haven't gotten out much this year. She's like, well, I don't know about that. I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess that's fair. 2 weeks in Australia does add up a little bit,
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm headed. I got a plane ticket to go to Carpet Fest in Texas, so I'm gonna go.
Wow.
Yeah, fly down Jordan, hang out with Jordan, and then go check out Replandia, and I'm really stoked. Cool. Hanging out with Jordan, especially in October. So
October, okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go a couple days before Carpet Fest, and then stay a couple days later. So maybe go check out. Hopefully Jordan. I mean, obviously checking out Jordan's area will be cool, and he knows that place very well, I'm sure. So that'll be fun. Meet his. I don't think I've met his family yet. So, except seeing him on Zoom while he's talking to him, and from Australia. But so that'll be cool to meet his family and see kind of his area and go check out Replandia and meet some of the Texas Carpet Fest folks. So I think we're gonna talk about some herping as well. So herping Australia, and Jordan and I are kind of going to give a team talk. So that'll be cool. Fun. Yeah. So,
that's very cool.
Good times. But looking forward to that. And I think we'll hopefully make it out in the fall sometime to go continue our list. And we need to get some firm plans there too. That'll be good.
Yep. I have stuff for you on that. So all good. And
sounds good. So I can't complain about the time I get out herping. I have a very patient and loving wife that recognizes my wanderlust and lets me take off here and there. So Yeah. She got to go out and do a trip for work up to Washington State. So she had a nice time
cool.
for a week up there. So that was last week. And yep. But good times.
Cool. Well, I know you got stuff to get to. So
go check out some fireworks for the 4th. Happy 4th, everybody, or everybody in the U.S., I guess. Anywhere else is just July 4th. But here we think it's a pretty big deal. So, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Good times. All right. Well, it's good to catch up with you. Any cool things you've seen in regards to herpetoculture lately? I know I had something. I think I snapshotted it, but I can't remember what it was.
Yeah. So there's a ton of stuff. The thing that jumps most quickly to mind, but I know this isn't the extent of it, is the same account that I mentioned before, that NJ Herping on Instagram.
Yeah. Right.
Had a post of a pine snake going into or coming out of a burrow, probably front end nesting. Really cool. Just that account. He's obviously doing way cool things in the Pine Barrens, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about it and stuff. So I have a ton of admiration, respect, and joy in the stuff that he posts up for sure.
That's cool. Yeah. I saw there was a picture of a weird tegu that I don't think I'd heard of. I'm not up on my tegu taxonomy, but it was Salvatore Duceni.
Interesting.
And it was
like Duchesne's almost, or
I think so. Yeah. It was. I think it's a recent split off of maybe. I'm not sure. It looks like yellow and orange, and then like spotty on a dark background. Really cool looking tegu. So like, cool. Man, I don't think I've seen that before, but I think Registro Animal posted it. So they posted like a bunch of South American species in a post. It was pretty cool. Registro Animal. So I don't know. I'd never maybe noticed that before, but it was a pretty cool post for sure. And then I think that was it. I think we might have talked about the mulga that was trying to eat the spotted python. I think we talked about that already. That was pretty cool. But yeah, I don't know. Good times, and I appreciate being invited on your herp trips, and it's been a good herping relationship. So good finds. Absolutely. So continues on that way, and exactly. Yeah, looking forward to September, getting back into southern Arizona again. That'll be nice. Yeah.
That'll be good. I'm super excited. So. No, stoked for it, and excited for, we have tons, we had stated earlier, half in jest, but a ton of cool guests to talk to and things. Man, there's so much cool content that I know we're excited to bring out. So, for sure. Fortunately, I think we were forward enough that I think maybe we've only missed a week, depending on when this one comes out. But, that's a good point. We're trying to, lots of good ideas that I know people are going to be happy with. So I'm excited for it. For sure. All right. Well, we'll, of course, thank Eric and Owen and the MPR umbrella. And thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.